my word. Okay, I'm actually live. Here I am moving around getting situated, and I'm live. And I'm still moving around getting situated. So that's all right. Now, where do I look? The green dot, I guess. Well, hello there, and welcome to my channel and my first live stream, in case you didn't notice. By the fact I didn't realize I was live. You know what it was I could suddenly see all the things behind me, and I realized I could see more behind me than I thought would be able to be seen. So I was like, oh my goodness, what's back there? But it looks all right. So here we are. It is the third day of a new year and the anniversary of doing YouTube. So I thought it would be fun to do a live stream as a celebration for the 1 year. I had thought about doing YouTube for years. And in fact, with my husband, we did have a small channel, and we had fun making videos back during the times of, 2020. And I found it fun, but it wasn't something that I thought ever that I could do on my own for various reasons. One, because I'm not technologically savvy, so I didn't think I could do the editing, and I had absolutely no idea how to upload a video onto YouTube. That seemed like magic. But last year, I decided to ask someone if they could edit for me, and they said yes. And then I decided to just look up on YouTube, how do you upload a video on YouTube? And that's how I met Rob the Maritimer's channel, because he has a great step-by-step. So thanks, Rob the Maritimer, for that. Really appreciate it. So in this live stream, I thought I would break it down in 3 sections. The first section would be a year in review, what I thought about this past year of doing YouTube. The second section will just be just general chit chat, what I'm going to call book talk time. And the reason I thought about doing that is because now that I'm on social media for this last year, I've been noticing people in the last couple of weeks sharing books that they've read throughout the year. Their books in review, you could say. I heard a podcast where the people talked about their books in they reviewed their books of the year. I've seen it on Facebook and also on no, I guess that's it. Those 2 things. Anyway, so I'm not going to do that though, because I don't actually keep track of the books that I read throughout the year. But I do want to talk a little bit about it, since I have shared on this channel numerous times about being a homeschool mother and using Sunlight, which is a literature-based curriculum. And then I have a little bit of thoughts about that. So that's the second section. And then the third section will be just a quick looking ahead to 2026 and what will be in store for this channel. So I hope that you got your favorite hot drink. I have a cup of tea. It's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is where I am. So around between 3 and 4, I like to have a cup of tea. And I'll either have Twinings English afternoon, or in this case, it's Berry's Gold. So I hope that you're enjoying your tea. Okay, so I did make a few notes so I wouldn't get completely off track and completely ramble. So let me just peruse them real quick. So as I think about this past year of 2025 and this idea of, the idea of starting a YouTube channel and seeing it through, I checked to see how many videos I uploaded. And now that I'm telling you this, I hope I have the number right. I think it was 47, which isn't bad considering there are 52 weeks in a year. And I was hoping to have a video a week. So we missed a few, but that's all right. I just have to go back to 2024 a little bit and just not go into great detail about some difficulties in 2024, but they played a part, I feel like, in me wanting to just do something completely different, i.e. start YouTube. So I lost 2 loved ones at the beginning of 2024. One was a good friend of mine that I've been friends with since the year 2000, and she had been bedridden for a year and a half up until her passing, and I would actually go and visit her as often as possible. I'd like to say I went every single week. I didn't make it every week, but I did go as often as possible, and one of the things that I enjoyed doing with her was reading to her. So obviously it wasn't unexpected when she passed. It was actually in some ways a relief so that she was no longer suffering, but it was a blow. I feel like I'm going to start tearing up talking about it. And then the other one was my uncle, which came as a complete shock when he passed, because I didn't even know he was ill. That was at the beginning of 2024 also. And then I don't want to go into a lot of detail about this, but I had a weird kind of health thing occur in August of 2024 that kind of shook me off kilter a little bit. And the good that I've seen come from that so far, and I'm still processing that event, but the good that I see come from that so far was one, when I got an email about the Hay House Writers Community occurring in September of 2024, I went ahead and signed up for it. And I don't think I would have done that had I not had that experience, if you know what I mean. So that, kind of got me out of my comfort zone, I guess, enough to say, I'm going to try something new. And so then when December rolled around and I thought, based on, participating in the Writers Boot Camp, I learned about an online platform. I had no idea about an online platform. I wasn't involved with any sort of social media as far as Facebook and Instagram. I did use YouTube as far as watching YouTube videos, but not interacting. I rarely, if ever, left a comment on anything. So I was one of those lurkers, they say. So that whole experience, I feel like, kind of was a bit of an impetus for just deciding to say to myself, why not just give it a try? Just for the heck of it. Even if you fall flat on your face, just give it a try. It's better to have tried and failed than to have not tried at all. We've all heard that expression, right? But how often do we actually follow it? So that's to say, I feel like the process of doing the YouTube videos, I found even as early as January, they made me laugh. Just the process of doing it brought joy. And I remember sharing that with my husband in January. And I said, people might think this is funny that a person at my age is starting to make YouTube videos, but it makes me laugh. And he said, then keep doing it. So that really encouraged me. One, that I had to support, and two, that yeah, if you're doing something for the sheer joy of it, why stop? If it's not hurting anybody, continue on. So that was a lesson, and something that has stayed with me in the back of my head. That people might think this is a silly thing, but it brings me joy and it makes me laugh. I've had the support of family. So when I thought maybe if I told friends and family that I was doing this, they might laugh at me. Nobody has. They've all thought either A, it was a neat thing to do, or B, they don't really care, which is fine. Or C, they have given tremendous support. And that's definitely the case with my husband and all of my children and my boys' wives, or wife and soon to be wife. They've all given tremendous support. So, oh my word, I just let the cat out of the bag about one of my sons. I'm not sure if I shared this in a video yet or not, but one of my sons just got engaged 2 weeks ago. So we're all very excited about that. I did have this interesting experience where I was making a little bit of a vlog. If you saw this vlog, you will know what I'm talking about. In Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, on Labor Day weekend, there is a regatta, and I decided to make a short vlog about that to share with you about the history of the regatta and just some of the things that are going on there. Well, it happened that I ran into 2 homeschool moms, 2 ladies, that I'm friendly with. I don't know them a great deal. Actually, since then, I've gotten to know one of them a bit better. At that moment, I didn't know either one of them a great deal. But I just said to them, "I'm making a YouTube video." And they kind of laughed and said, "Oh, that's what all the kids want. They wanna become YouTubers, they wanna be content creators, they wanna make a lot of money," and yada, 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 and they kept going on. They both had been well, I think one is still a teacher and one had been a teacher, so that was their point of view. And I was able to laugh with them, and I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, "Well, I could take offense by that maybe they think I'm absolutely ridiculous trying to make it big in YouTube, or I could just take it for what it is, 2 moms laughing about something. Not I didn't feel like they were laughing at me in a mean way by any means, and just say, "Okay, yeah," and move on with my day, which is exactly what I did. So, I took Rob the Maritimer's advice. He had a video about don't tell your friends, and I hadn't told any of my friends really. Um, but then I went out to dinner with a couple of ladies a few weeks ago, and I wanted to just do a little bit of B-roll of their food, and so I decided to just go ahead and share with them that I have a YouTube channel, and would they mind if I take some footage of their food and of the surrounding area? And they didn't mind, and it turned out to be just a fun night where we could all laugh together about the idea of YouTube, and they were saying, "Yeah, take this shot," or "No, take this shot." And so it just turned out to be a lot of fun. And yeah, so I took Rob the Maritimer's advice, and then now I'm just starting to tell people as it seems natural. I'm not like going out to the whole, my whole neighborhood and saying, "I'm on a YouTube channel," because, they won't care, as he is faithful to point out in that video. The other thing that's come out of it was, as mentioned, I have been a fan of watching YouTube videos for years, but not one to actually make comments. Well, since having my own channel, I'm finding that I actually really like that process of not only receiving comments on my videos, but actually giving comments on other people's videos. And I don't do it as often on my all-time favorite YouTube channel, because that channel I tend to watch on my TV with my daughters as a tea time break. And then I forget to go to my laptop and make a comment. So I'm a bit bad about that. But there's one new channel that I discovered because it just came up in my feed. It was something about the topic was something about a day in my life my writing routine. And of course, since I'm wanting to establish a writing routine and hopefully become a published author someday, I wanted to watch that video. And it turned out I really liked that person and decided to subscribe to her channel and follow her, and decide to just write comments about the videos and how much I appreciated them or what I got out of them. And it's been so fun because she responds back. So then I decided to do that with other people that I like. And that's also been really fun. Like Rob, I've commented on Rob the Maritimer and he's responded back. And so, yeah, it's just been a fun process. Like it went from me, saying, "Oh, I'm not on social media," to realizing that, there are some good aspects where you can interact with people in a positive way, and that can be an enjoyable thing and fun, and you can kind of make a new friend, even though you're on the other side of the country from each other. So let me say, I will link her channel in my description box once I figure out how to have a description box after this is over. Her name is Andrea Severson, and she is what she calls an indie author. She's also a college professor, and she lives out in Arizona. So if you're interested in the writing lifestyle, the writing process, her videos are really enjoyable and very informative. And with that, I want to just give another shout out. I thank these people, I think in one of my very first videos at the beginning of the year, because I wanted to make sure that they know that what they're putting out into the world is benefiting people, whether the people actually leave them a comment and tell them that or not. But I want to give another thank you to people who have made videos about making videos and from whom I've gathered help. And so that would be Rob the Maritimer, Kevin Colby, Diane Moore, and Katie Steckley. Now, the first three are all people probably around my age, and a lot of their theme is make a YouTube video, make a YouTube channel in your 40s, 50s, and even in 60s and above. So that feels completely natural to be getting advice from them. Katie Steckley, I think I'm old enough to be her mother. But she's so cute. And I think of her as like a daughter giving me advice, which I do take advice from my daughters and my sons. So, I just find that fun. She also has a channel with her husband called Katie and Dan in a Van. And my husband and I have always thought it would be fun when our children are grown to do that kind of lifestyle, to either have a van that's converted into a camper or to have a camper or an RV or something. And even if we didn't do that kind of traveling year round, we are both adventuresome. We like the outdoor life, as far as hiking. Camping, I'm only a camper if it's not going to rain. Camping as far as tent camping. If there's a chance of rain, I'm not going to be wanting to sleep in a tent. But yeah, so when I saw that she had that channel and that she and her husband were traveling around Scotland, I've really enjoyed that for the last few months. So that's, a big shout out to all of them. Thank you so much. Let me see. I want to make sure I don't forget anything. I think that's it, but I do want to just share this exciting thing that happened right when I started my YouTube channel at the beginning of the calendar year, which was that one of my favorite YouTube, actually might even be my favorite YouTube people, they made a comment on one of my first videos, and my daughter, first thing in the morning, she called down to me and she said, "Mama, did you see your video, your comments yet?" And I said, "No," because, why would I have? I had just gotten up. She said, "You have to look at them." And it turned out that, some of our favorite YouTubers, Kirsten and Jörg, had made a comment. And so we've had a little bit of back and forth. And then when I remember to, I make a comment on their video. And that's just been fun. They are people that, though we live on the other side of the world from each other, we are in the same age bracket. Our lifestyles are completely different. But I feel like we would have a lot in common. I feel like we do have a lot in common. Obviously, I watch them. And that if we met in real life, we would actually be friends. So I like to find people on YouTube like that, right? I mean, hopefully you do as well. People that you can follow and enjoy and learn from and interact with, who you feel like if you were sitting down with coffee, you'd really get along. All right, I'm going to move into the book talk time. The reason also I want to bring this up is because in getting, figuring out my new schedule as far as writing and producing YouTube videos, I was finding that there was something there. I just felt a little bit ill at ease about something, with my morning routine. I just felt like there's something that just didn't feel right. And then a number of weeks ago, I realized it was because for the last, 20 some years, part of my morning routine has been to read. I would get up, make a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and read. And typically my reading does skew to things like garden books or house design books, coffee table books that have to do with houses. Nonfiction, as far as maybe self-helpy books, if that's a word, self-helpy. Nonfiction as far as history goes. If you've watched any of my channels, any of my videos for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of David McCullough. So I've been reading his books for the last couple of years, and they're not short. So it takes me a while to get through them. But in the last couple of months, I realized I wasn't really reading in the morning. And I just suddenly realized I need that. I need that part in my life. So, excuse me, pardon me a moment. If this wasn't live, you wouldn't see that part. But if I get going, my nose does start running, and it is January. So pardon me. What was I saying? Oh, I need reading. I need reading in my morning routine. So I just wanted to share with you a couple of books that one book that I just finished and two books that I'm currently reading. And then in the comment section, you can tell me a book that meant a lot to you in 2025, or a book that you're working on now, or a book that you're hoping to read in 2026. Also, let me know if you're the type of person that keeps track of your books in a reading list. I think I might try to do that this coming year. I do have a reading journal that someone gave me years ago, but I forget to write in it. And I kind of, just get started on a book, and then I might think, oh shoot, I should write that in my journal. What day did I start it? And then if I can't think of the actual day, then I don't want to write it, write in the journal, because each page in the journal is supposed to be for one book. So anyway, I might start using that again, or maybe I'll just jot things down on a piece of paper. I have been working on David McCullough's book about John Adams for the last year, slowly, but when I wasn't reading consistently in the weekday mornings, I was only reading it on Saturday mornings, and so that's taken me a while to get there. But this little book I learned about on a podcast. Oh, that's another thing about being involved with YouTube and social media, is that a friend of mine suggested a podcast to me she thought I would enjoy. And so I started listening to it, and I actually have been listening to it pretty regularly now. So I've listened to a few of their episodes in the last couple of months, and it's called the Literary Life Podcast. I'll put that in the description box also. If you're not familiar with them and you like to read, you might find it a good listen. So they had been discussing this book called An Experiment in Criticism by C.S. Lewis. Let me see if I can. Hopefully that's going to be in the right way. Not knowing if I would like it or not, I got it from the local college bookstore. And it's not a thick book, but I really enjoyed it. I'm just going to read to you just a little bit of the description. So chances are you're familiar with C.S. Lewis, the Chronicles of Narnia. But if you're not, I'll tell you what this says. He was a fellow of Magdalen College, which is a part of Oxford, and a professor of medieval and Renaissance English in the University of Cambridge. So the short description: is literature to be valued because it tells us truths about life, or as an aid to culture, or as an end in itself? Professor Lewis believes the last, that literature is above all an art to be enjoyed. He doubts the utility of strictly evaluative criticism, and especially of its condemnations, and he proposes a different approach. So, yeah, I really loved that. I was enjoying hearing them discuss it I forget how many episodes they had about it before I finally said to myself, I just need to read it myself. But yeah, they were talking about how a lot of people come to literature for lessons or to dissect it, and how we really, ought to just come to literature as a means in itself to enjoy literature for what it is, similar to any other art form. So if you haven't read this and you're a reader, I really can recommend it. With that said, when I decided to put reading back into my life on a Monday, every day, not just Saturday and Sunday, but Monday through Friday too, I have had this book on my nightstand for I can't tell you how long. And the reason I hadn't really gotten much progress was because obviously my nightstand is the time I do reading before I go to sleep. And as you can see, I need reading glasses, so I don't take them into my bedroom. And this is a book that's a bit on the heavy side, so it's not something I really want to be diving into before I go to sleep. That to say, in the last 2 weeks that we've been off of school, I brought it into the living room and I've been reading it in the mornings. So it's called We Don't Know Ourselves, A Personal History of Modern Ireland by Fintan O'Toole. And I heard about this book a couple of years ago on Rick Steves Radio. And I actually want to go back and listen to the episode to hear him being interviewed and talk about this book, because there must have been something about it that really made me think, oh, that sounds like a good read. Because I'll tell you this, I've been a fan of Ireland my whole life. My mom, when I was in elementary school, would tell me I was the most Irish girl she ever knew. And my husband and I had always dreamed about going to Ireland, and we finally made it there in 2010. And I had the rude awakening of being greeted by someone who said, "Can I take my photo with you? I need to have a photo taken with a tourist." Me, thinking I was the most Irish little girl my mother ever met, said, "How did you know we were tourists?" And she said, "Because of your sunglasses." So that to say, I've had a lot of interest in Ireland. So I thought this would be a really interesting book. It's quite eye-opening. Not all of it is happy, but really is any country's history all happy, including our own. Let me see if there's a short description I can read to you. Well, I'll just read you what the back says. Hailed as astonishing by Colin Murphy of The Atlantic, and as a landmark history by Claire Messud in Harper's Magazine, We Don't Know Ourselves is the widely lauded magnum opus of one of the Anglophone world's most significant writers and public intellectuals, weaving his own experience as a son of working-class Dublin into Irish social, cultural, and economic change. Fitton O'Toole tells the remarkable story of how Ireland, in just one lifetime, went from a conservative Catholic backwater to a globalized nation. The result is a sweeping, authoritative, and profoundly intelligent work that will endure for years as a defining account not only of Ireland, but of modernity itself. And that quote, sweeping, authoritative, and profoundly intelligent, was by Colm, I'm going to butcher his pronunciation of his last name, Tolvin from The Guardian. But I read, and I can't remember, I guess it wasn't on the back, maybe it was in his author's bio, where he said his life wasn't interesting enough for a memoir. But as it happened, from the time that he was born, or starting the day, the year that he was born, throughout, the writing of this book, Ireland was going through great changes. So he kind of he shares things about his life growing up along with the changes that the country was making. So it's really fascinating. I really recommend that. You can see I'm not quite halfway through. And then, as it happens, I'm a part of, if you've watched my videos, and I'm in the Hay House Writers community. And as it happens, I had never actually read anything by Louise Hay. So I was at my son and daughter-in-law's house a couple of weeks ago, and I happened to see the spine of a book that looked familiar to me. And so I pulled it out, and it is her landmark book, You Can Heal Your Life. Over 3 million copies sold, it says. And I said, "Oh, my word, you have Louise Hay's book." She didn't realize, she knew that I was in the Hay House Writers community, but she didn't realize that Hay House had anything to do with Louise Hay. So my daughter-in-law has not yet read it, but she's told me that I could borrow it. So I've been reading it for the last week and a half and understand why now Louise Hay made such an impact the way that she did. If you have not read this book, I really recommend it. I'm not, I'm I am about halfway through. Hopefully I won't go back on my words once I finish it. But so far, I recommend it wholeheartedly. So You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Now I want to go back into my Hay House Writers community, which I have not checked in with in the last probably 3 weeks, because I've been on a break from school for the last 2 weeks, and a break from school kind of is a break from everything else. I want to go back in and say, hey, I had never read anything by Louise Hay, but I finally have, and I can see why she has made such an impact. So yeah, that'll be fun to see what people have to say. All right, looking ahead then, let me take a sip. Looking ahead to the new year, I'm excited to keep going. When I started, I said to myself, well, if I don't like making YouTube videos after, let's say, 3 months or 6 months or something like that, I can just stop. But I enjoyed the process, so I kept going. And I'm excited to go into the new year to see where things flow, how things flow. We'll see what happens. Um, the first video of the new year will be the last video of December. So having, not being a part of the YouTube, I'm going to say YouTube family, for lack of a better word, I had never really paid attention to that word vlogmas until this year when I was watching Andrea Severson's videos, and she was talking about vlogmas because I found her probably mid-November. And so she was talking about vlogmas in the next, those few weeks. And then I was talking to my daughters about it, and they said, oh yeah, Mom, like we know some people that talk about vlogmas. One of the people would be someone in England, because we do tend to like people in England, Josie. So if you might know Josie. And they were like, she does vlogmas. I said, oh yeah, that's true. But I had never really paid attention to it much. But since I was enjoying Andrea's videos, I wanted to watch her vlogmas. I wasn't able to continue every single day. I mean, that is a lot to watch every single day. So I'm a bit behind. But that to say, I thought, well, I can't do every day. There's no way. But let me do a week. So I'll do the first week of December, the second week of December, the third week of December, and then the end of December is, the fourth, there's one whole week and then half a week. So I said to myself, we'll just do that all combined. So that video will be the first one that you will see in 2026. And then after that, we have a couple of videos that I filmed this fall that we just hadn't gotten around to editing and posting. So we'll be seeing a couple of those. 2 of them are field trips. They were homeschool field trips. And I did ask permission from the venues, and I was careful not to show anyone else's children in the video. So if that worries you, set your mind at ease. So, but they're locations that I think you'll find interesting. If you're not from Pennsylvania, I think you'll find them interesting as like a little armchair travel. And if you ever get the chance to visit North Central Pennsylvania, they would be places I think that you would enjoy visiting. We're going to have some special guests. I don't know if you saw my video. I forget what month it was that we put it up. It was sometime in the summer, I think. It was titled Feed Your Soul. And it was about visiting my friend Mary Ann's art show. I really enjoyed that video. I really enjoyed that process of interviewing Mary Ann, of just being with her, talking about her art, showing you all her art. And so I'm looking forward to, I have a couple of special guests that I know are already willing to come on my channel and share what they're doing in their life. So I'm already excited about those videos that will be coming up in the new year. And then it might have been my most popular video, if not my most popular, one of my most popular videos was about Woolrich. And I really enjoyed making that video because Woolrich is dear to my heart, but also I like sharing about history and a little bit of historical. I mean, clearly I'm not going into like great depth about history about anything on these videos, but who knows, maybe down the road I'll go into more depth. I have in the back of my head always, had a dream of being a history teacher. So I do like that aspect of homeschooling, is teaching history. So that to say, I already have at least one historical society tour lined up where I'm going to be making a video about that. And then I have a couple of others that I have in the back of my head to reach out to. So those are some videos that I'm excited to make. And I think you'll enjoy from a sense of, like I said, armchair travel. Let me see. There's one thing I can't read on my notes. Oh no, that's it. We do have a fun video coming up in the next week or two. I don't know if it'll be the second video of the year or the third or fourth, but it's one that we haven't yet filmed, but we're going to. And it's actually with the idea of one of my daughter's favorite YouTube channels. So I'm already thinking about how fun it's going to be just to film that video. And then I'll be interested to see how you all enjoy that, just the fun of it. So that's going to be coming up, and that's fun. Oh, I know what I wanted to say at the beginning of thinking about 2024 and events that kind of like transpired into making YouTube, which is that if I had never signed up for the Hay House Writers community, I wouldn't have gotten to know Kelly Notaris through emails and her YouTube channel. And then I never would have taken her live web workshop in May, which then never wouldn't have led to me going on the writer's retreat that I went on in September. So my point is just that one step of saying, I'm going to try this and see what happens, had a snowball effect of like other good things in my life. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel about YouTube, just to continue it with this next year, see what happens. So far, I'm just having fun making them. I hope you're having fun watching them. And if you have not yet subscribed, that you'll share with your friends if you think they would enjoy this content. And yeah, just, let's build a community of friendship and positivity here. There's a lot of negativity in the world, and I do hope that the things that I can put out into cyberspace, out into the globe itself, would be things that are positive. Oh, that's one thing I was going to share. Because of the whole online platform and starting the YouTube and Instagram and everything, I did go back onto Facebook with just a private account with my friends. And I did enjoy sharing something throughout the year. Mainly it was when things were growing. I called it a daily dose of beauty, until I realized I couldn't do it every single day. And then I called it a dose of beauty. And that attitude, that idea of sharing something beautiful with the internet, with the world, I'm going to incorporate more of in the next year, either on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram, of just doses of beauty, because there is a lot of negativity in the world. There always has been, there always will be. But we can, as individuals, put good and light and happiness out into the world. I mean, that's actually what Louise Hay is all about, loving yourself, having good thoughts about yourself, and then greater mankind, and putting good out into the world. So that's what I hope that this channel can be. I hope that my Instagram account can be that. And I hope that that's your penchant also, that's what you want for yourself. And that's what you want for your fellow mankind. So now I see, I've watched people's live channels before, live things a couple of times, and they'll say, oh, I've been talking for such and such long. And I'm like, how do they know that? And now I can see how long I've been talking. So I think that I will end this here. And I thank you for watching. I thank you for being a part of my YouTube community. And I hope that you're going into the new year 2026 with hopeful anticipation for something new, something exciting, good thoughts, good energy. And if you have any desire to share any of your hopes and dreams with the greater community, please do put that in the description box. With that, I shall bid you adieu. Thanks for watching. You take care.